The charity board gamer is made possible by publishers like 25th Century Games. Take a look at the store in the link down below and stay tuned for a little clip after the show. All right, folks, welcome to the Meeples of Joy podcast. And I know we have this whole thing saying that the podcast is about, we're talking about games, we're sharing stories, we're interviewing guests, and of course, the one thing that we're adding at the very end is our surprise top five. Now, we know what the surprise top five is. However, our special guest doesn't know, but we're going to challenge their knowledge of the games that are on their own personal shelf and see how quickly they can come up with 5 games related to that topic. So once again, let me go ahead and pass over to the one who keeps me entertained, and it has the ADD that goes with mine just perfectly. She is wonderful. She is fabulous. The amazing Chelsea.
Hi, I'm Chelsea, and you can find me on Chelka's Corner, and I like to encourage Chris's chaos. So I find joy in that. And I'm passing it off to the one person who can keep both of us in check.
Well, you say I can keep you in check. I just attempt to, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yes, I am Justin from Play Games Spread Joy, and ultimately it is a joy to be here together, just chatting about games. Chris, do you want to introduce who we have with us today?
Do I ever? So if you haven't seen him on any of our previous live streams, or you haven't heard of him before, he is Chad Elkins of 25th Century Games. I had the pleasure of actually working for him at Gen Con. Got the chance to be able to work that weekend and had a blast doing that. And I have enjoyed playing a lot of the games. You might know of one as Winner Winner Chicken Dinner, which he designed. There's also Kingswood, which is my personal favorite. There's Curmudgeon, which was designed by Grant Lyon and his friend. But yeah, Chad, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you guys for having me. And obviously, thank you again for all the help at Gen Con. That was our first time working booth together, and it was absolutely a pleasure to have you there. And you're obviously, as everyone knows, just you in general, absolutely a fun person to be around for. What was it, 4 days? 3, 4, I can't remember what that was, 3 or 4 days. Origins, I think, was 3. Gen Con was 4. But yeah, that was we had a lot of fun. That was a good time, and obviously you're welcome back anytime we are both attending the same con and you want to help out.
Oh, definitely. I know. I'm contemplating which conventions I'll be going to this year. I know one that we're both going to be at, which I'm excited about, is Tantrum Con, which is this February. Love the Tantrum House crew, so the chance to be able to go to that and enjoy it. It's now in a new location in Charlotte, North Carolina, so that's only a 4-hour drive for me. So totally worth the drive. But yeah, I can't wait. Now you have something that just came out this week. It hit Kickstarter. It looks like it's already funded, which is amazing. It's at currently at $28,628 of its $15,000 goal, and that's a game called Blazon. Tell us about Blazon.
So yeah, so I'm really excited. Launched on Tuesday. We've got a launch on Tuesday, and it ends. It's a 15-day campaign, so relatively short, but it's a very straightforward campaign. So we thought that length of time works well, because we're, rather than hiding stuff behind stretch goals, we're just literally giving away everything and showing everything that this game is going to be and should be. That's the vision we have for it right out of the gate. So the whole drag it out for a month and slowly release stretch goals every couple of days, we don't need to do. So we're just doing a nice little 2-week campaign. But Blazon is, if you don't want to go check it out on Kickstarter right now, you can actually see it here. Here it is. This is the box cover for it. This is a game about medieval heraldry, which, to be perfectly honest, until I played the game and started talking to the designer about it, really knew almost nothing about. Right? It's not a topic that usually gets covered. But it's the more I've played the game, and obviously been in a lot of discussions with Dave Conklin, who's a fantastic designer, actually also located in North Carolina, and he really kind of showed me this whole world of heraldry and the background, the history of it, and it's fascinating. What heraldry is it's almost like a coat of arms decoration, but for armor. So typically shields. So it's heralds were these scholars that were basically prepared in colors and like animals and things that were being painted onto medieval like armor, which is almost kind of like explain your family or your life story kind of a thing. And Dave spent like I think like years like researching while he was designing this game to fully weave in that history with a really clever like Tableau builder puzzle building kind of a game, and everything is like factual. That's like the coolest thing about it. It's so rooted in that history that I'm really excited about it, because like not only can people play a fun game, you can also it gives you enough tidbits in the rule book to know what you're playing and doing, but then it opens up the door to like, oh, I want to learn more about that. And you can kind of go off and do that from there. But yeah, it's fantastic Tableau builder game.
Yeah, and one thing that like me, I come from Scottish heritage, and we actually have a family crest, and so being able to see something that kind of has that feel to it, I love the look of it. Chelsea, you had some questions, I know, and Justin, you have some questions. I'm gonna I already asked some of the ones that I wanted to know.
Well,
So
first I want to comment. I know everyone listening can't necessarily see what we're seeing, but if you look at the Kickstarter and look at the pictures of this game, the first thing I notice is like you talk about the history of like the shields and the coat of arms. Each player board looks amazing because you have your own essentially shield coat of arms you're making and scoring on, which looks incredible to play with. Can you tell us a little bit more of like how it plays and how that integrates?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, so every player does get a shield. So you start with a blank shield that you are going to decorate, right? And like in ink, it's called blazon. So even the term blazon means to basically apply the heraldry to a shield or to a piece of armor.
Mm-hmm.
And there are placement rules. So there are very specific things you can do in each of the placements within the shield itself. So you've got to you have a central tableau, like central drafting board area of different element device and tinctures, which are just different types of colors or different animals and different charges and augmentations, etc. So you're basically drafting those out of a middle, pulling those into your hand, and then playing those down, blazing them onto your shield board. But it's a very specific pattern that you're trying to accomplish, because there are communal objectives that will score you additional points. Just blazoning different elements will score you points, but you're trying to do so in a way that's very restrictive. So that's where the puzzle nature comes in, because there are placement rules around what types of things can go in certain spots. And so you're trying to, because the cards themselves are basically multi-aspect cards, like there are several different things on each card that score points or that qualify for certain places on the board and certain distinctions, objectives you're trying to reach. So you're trying to be efficient. Like I've got to get a certain color with a certain symbol to qualify for a certain objective. But if I can do that in 2 cards instead of having to put 4 cards on the board, that's a more efficient way to score points. And so it's like this like efficiency puzzle. Like if I put this here, I can't put something else next to it because of the rules of the placement. So I've got to weigh that out in my decisioning for what I put down and when, which again, it just makes it very, it feels a lot crunchier and deeper than just what you can do on a turn would dictate. Because really on a turn, you can just do 2 things. Like you're either going to draft cards or you're going to play cards on the board. And there are some minor tweaks you can do with these Herald tokens. But for the most part, that's all you're going to do, which is also what's great about it from just a like approachability standpoint. You know, it's very easy to like explain, like on your turn, you're only going to do this. But it's those agonizing choices about doing that, which is where the complexity and the puzzling comes in.
So like how many players can play this and about how long does it typically take to play the game?
Yeah, so it is it's 1 to 4, so there is a solo mode as well. You can usually play the game depending on if your familiarity with it, and of course individual player AP can be a factor like in everything. I mean, look at Chris. It takes an hour to play, Uno with Chris over there.
What?
So,
whoa.
Well, that's your ADD. That's not your AP.
Yeah, that's an
No.
AP.
That's ADD. That is definitely not AP when it comes to me playing.
So usually about 30 minutes to an hour is
Not bad.
the window for that. Yeah, and so it can play really quick too. Like you're especially a 2-player game. If you both know what you're doing, you can run through a game pretty quick.
Cool.
Definitely not filler weight. So, but it is it could be a good like in between game or even like an opening game for the night, just to kind of get you going. before like a bigger, kind of heavier, meatier game.
So on the Kickstarter, there's 2 pledge levels. What are the difference between the 2, and what's the deluxe like?
Yeah. So the biggest difference between the 2 is just components. So there is no, we really don't like to hide content between price point tiers. It's just not something that we think should happen. You should be able to, no matter which edition you want to buy or can afford to buy, you should be able to have the exact same game experience from a content standpoint. So content wise, both the same. There's $35 and $40 is 2 different price point levels. The biggest difference is there are these achievement tokens. Is this going to be on video anywhere? Am I going to show something that's never going to be seen?
No, I'm going to actually take the video from here, apply it later to YouTube, because what we're going to do is we're going to take the videos and post them the following week.
Yeah, but we'll do what we can
to
to describe it to the listeners as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically what you've got, there are 5 different animal character achievement tokens. These are animals that you'll see on a lot of some of the cards that are in the game. But what's cool about them, I'm gonna hold them up here. So there are 5 of these, and they are rather large. If you go to the campaign page, I actually put them next to the cards in the game, so you can actually see kind of the perspective of how large they are. They're about the size of a poker card.
Okay.
So these, instead of being punch board, are going to be this really nice acrylic in the game. And then you've also got these Herald tokens, which are these inkwell type things. These are going to be also wood. It's nice little thick.
Is that like a screen printed wood piece?
Yeah, so it's a screen printed wood piece that has like a pen and inkwell kind of thing. So those are also in there. And then we've got what's called abatements, which are an optional rule set you can play with in the game. These are also going to be punch board in the game, but will be wood in this version. They are basically like ink splats. And so those are also going to be wood, just as another layer of just kind of tactileness. And then the box will have some other embellishments like green foil and stuff.
Talking, of course, with about Blazing with Chad Elkins of 25th Century Games, for anybody that is just now joining us or is wondering what happened. So yeah, that's it. But we were talking about some beautiful pieces out like these. You said they're going to be acrylic. Is that right? The acrylic, like the lion.
Yeah. So
the eagle.
They're all about yay big.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, those look beautiful. They look beautiful. And then of course we saw a nice little
they're cool table presents.
Yeah. So let's keep going. Let's go to so we had a little chat about that. Let's have Chelsea ask some questions if she didn't already ask some while I froze.
No, well, I did ask about the tokens.
Well,
so we're talking about the Kickstarters that will like basically break content apart between different pledge tiers, like from a different cost perspective. And so it really, there's no right or wrong answer there, but I think if it works for some companies, so be it. Put content behind additional price point tiers, but we don't like to do that. That's something. So like our standard versus deluxe, your gameplay content is the same. It's just whether or not you have a different tactile component experience. That's honestly, that's kind of why we don't send every game to Kickstarter. So for a Blazing game, there is a version that we think we want to see exist, and that version has a more tactile, kind of thicker feel to it. But the price point that commands from a cost perspective wouldn't translate over into a retail environment very well. And so really it gives us an opportunity to create that and create that and have the Kickstarter demand to know how much of that to create, even though we have a retail version that will come later. But there's still a retail version of the Kickstarter, and we obviously want to try to encourage people to back it there, because it does help a lot, for a small company like us. But we do have some, a mini expansion that's on there. So no matter what tier you back, either one of them, you'll get this mini expansion and an embroidered bag that won't be available in retail later, but we'll have it available for sell direct on our site at a cost. Of course, it's free, if you support the game on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So you said it hit Kickstarter this past Tuesday, so that was the 4th, and it's going for 2 weeks. You said
it ends Wednesday the 19th. So
Wednesday 19th. So
15-day campaign.
Yeah. So be sure to go check that out. And then if they do miss that, they can potentially, is there going to be like a pre-order or to get a late backer
Like
set
a
up if
late
they go
pledge?
to your website.
There is, yeah, we'll have some late pledges up. Usually at that link is always usually going to be on the Kickstarter page. And then of course, once that short window is closed, which the late pledge will be a little bit different, usually slightly different price point, for late pledge. We do want people to back the campaign during it.
Of
And then,
course,
of course,
for anyone that catches
it
this
just misses it
outside of
later.
that, yeah.
It's not the price of the games and stuff is all the same. We don't subsidize as much on shipping, so
Mhm.
it'll be a little bit slightly higher shipping costs. It's usually how we do it, but usually a few dollars. And then once we get closer to retail and we actually know when that retail street date is going to be, then we'll place them on the website for pre-order as well.
Yeah, and I think
at a full MSRP, of course.
Yeah, and one thing that I like is I'm thinking from a family of 5. Okay, which version are we going to go for? Budget conscious, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a retail edition, which is $35. But if I want to, try to talk my wife into it, maybe I could go for that deluxe. I do like that aspect of it. Because a lot of times when I look at games and I'm looking at Kickstarters and I'm looking, okay, can I drop the money to do this and justify it with the wife? So that is a big thing, because we always talk about our financial decisions, whether it be games, bills, the latest subscription, like we just got Netflix, and so we have to watch Cobra Kai. I mean, you got to watch Cobra Kai. But yeah, so I do like
It's
the
like
fact
us for
that
like Disney Plus. I'm like,
oh
got
yes,
Disney Plus now. Gotta watch the Boba Fett and Mandalorian and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
I haven't watched the second episode. I have to watch that soon.
If
I haven't
you're
either,
paying
so
for it, you
no
better
spoilers.
make use of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's so I do like the fact that you do that with these things, is that you offer both, because then it makes it easier, I think, for people that like myself, that are family conscious, budget conscious, can say, okay, average game for a family is anywhere between $20 to $40. So
And going up, man, I think this year you're going to see,
yeah,
a lot of the staple games you see on the shelf for 40, and used to seeing at 40 this year.
mhm,
You're going to start seeing them at 50, and things when retailers get reprints and stuff. So,
yeah.
but it's tough. I mean, I think we have to be conscious about, I'm very conscious about our games and our price points of our games. I think because and if you look at the price point of our lineup and related to like the quality in which you get in the box, like there's a lot of game and chicken winner chicken do $25 like that. So no one's probably ever going to say like we have like an overpriced game market, and because I know for a fact our ratio markup compared to a lot of other publishers is way lower, but this is because I want to make sure and our component quality probably is a little bit higher than what it should be at that price range. Like our cardboard punch tiles always have extra thick versions of those, so but that's a conscious, I think, for me, in our brand. I mean, other companies can go skimpier on their cardboard thickness and things like that, and that's on them and their brand and what they have to do to make a company, their company be successful. But that's just the approach I think we take. And so I think blazing at a $40 price point is still a fantastic deal.
It's a great deal.
Of course, it's 35 on the Kickstarter, but then everything else you're kind of getting, and the difference between 40 and 50 I think is a pretty good bit.
Yeah, and I think a perfect example, like you said, you're talking about quality components and everything like that. And I mean, just even when you open up Tutankhamun, the tiles are thick. And then with Kohaku, you made a decision to go to these nice thicker style cardboard tiles, but you still have the nice UV sheen on them, which just adds just that nice pop to it all. So I think that was a really wise decision, especially considering we've talked about the shipping crisis before. We've talked about all those things, and you're finding ways to pivot and still bring great quality to my table. And that's how I look at it. So yeah.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, the shipping crisis is absolutely a thing. I mean, it's funny, I was actually just commenting about this on the Dice Tower. Vassal released a short review of Holly Jolly like yesterday, I think, or maybe this morning. The days all kind of blend together. It was funny because people were like, well, I thought this was out. Like I couldn't find it anywhere this holiday. And I'm like, I had to respond. And I'm like, actually it was literally planned to be released at this past holiday, which is why obviously when you were at Gen Con, we had copies at the booth
Mhm.
because I had flown some in just for the show, so we could just debut it a small amount there,
Yeah.
thinking that the retail release was going to happen in like November, right for Christmas, which it's a Christmas, a holiday game.
Yeah.
And we had issues with the container, it kept getting bumped, and then like the container got delayed and like moved around on different ships, and so all this like problems happened. And Kohaku was actually with Holly Jolly, so it was also supposed to be out for holiday Kohaku reprint, but it ended up it's coming in a week. It comes in January 15th. So now I've got a Christmas game that comes in mid-January that I got to sit on in the warehouse until October, November next year, this year, later this next holiday. So I mean, fortunately, it's a small game. It does sting, but something that we can manage and get through. But if it had been a much larger game and that kind of thing had happened, then that would be very hurtful, for a small publisher like us. But we'll weather through that. It's not a big deal. But it does sting a little bit because I thought we could have expected those holiday sales this year for it and reprint it for next year. But bright side is we're 11 months early with it.
Yeah.
And so it's there. It'll be ready
And you
to go.
have it, and it's ready to go. No issues.
Yeah. So talking about the bright side of things and things that bring us joy, we're going to kind of take the time to pivot towards our top 5 topic for this episode, which to kind of transition off of Blazon, it's Tableau building games.
Okay.
So for those listening and watching along, I'm going to quickly read off what BGD talks about for Tableau building, so everyone kind of gets an idea of what these games typically entail. So each player typically has a visible personal array or tableau of components. It can be cards, tiles, player boards, etc. They purposely build or manipulate throughout the game by spending actions or resources, typically, in which determine the quality, quantity, or variety of actions they can take in the game. So it's not just purely for scoring. It kind of changes something that happens on their turn, typically. So I know that's a little vague sometimes. Some games that have more of it have less of that. But in general, most of the games we're going to talk about tonight will fall within that category. I know all 3 of us have already kind of picked our top 5, and then Chad, you can kind of join in if you're ready to. Don't feel like you have to come up with 5 along with us, or you may just agree with some of the ones we picked.
This is going to happen. So
okay, so I'm going to kick it off with Chelsea. If you want to start off with one of yours, I know I picked a couple that were actually on both Chelsea's and Chris's list, so I want to let them bring them up first. But pick whatever one you want to start with. What was probably one of your top ones, Chelsea?
So I'd say out of this list, probably it's tied between my first 2 choices, but I'll just pick one. It's Everdale by Starling Games. I literally have everything for it. I have even bought stickers online to put on all the meeples. I just like that every time it's different. It's just based on who you're playing with, what's coming out, what are they, depending how they are playing. If they're playing, I'm gonna, hate draft, for example. And so it's just fun, and I like the creatures and how they work. And I know recently they came out with the latest Kickstarter. They're gonna do like a pack, and they addressed some concerns that people had regarding partners and the wife and husband cards, and they addressed that, and I do appreciate that a lot because they listen to their fans and their audience. So that is one of my top 5.
Well, I definitely agree with that choice because that was on my list as well. Ranging from component quality to the artwork to the gameplay itself, like I couldn't find any faults with that game every time I've played it. I'm more than willing to always play that game. It's just a joy to sit down and play it, either with you, Chelsea, even if you're hate drafting against me, or
yes,
or just learning the game or playing with anyone. Like I've always enjoyed that game, and it has great table presence. Chris, what was one from your list?
Okay, one from my list. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go for my bottom of my list. I'm gonna start with Paper Tales from Stronghold Games. And this is similar in style to Seven Wonders. You can play it up to about 5 players. I think if you get the I don't know what the expansion is called. I forget what it's called. But if you get that, you can play it up to 7 or even play it solo. But I like the aspect that it's very simplistic in the way that you're playing. You're drafting the cards, you're going and playing them down, you pay the cost for the ones that you want to use. You have people on the front line that are going to battle for you. You have ones in the back that might help you generate, some sort of income. And then at the end of the game, it's whoever has the most points winning. Which I like that, and it plays a lot quicker than a game of Seven Wonders. Now, of course, out of Seven Wonders Duel is my favorite, so I decided to instead go with Paper Tales, which I think is a very quick, enjoyable game that you can play in 45 minutes. So, what about you, Justin? What's your next one?
Well, no,
Chad.
one of my first ones
oh.
was Everdell, but it looks like Chad might have his first
That's
one
right.
ready because he
Yes.
looked deep in thought, but he's paying attention to us again.
You guys, you called some good ones on. I think obviously Everdell. I think it's fantastic game, great table presence too. With the center tree board there and just the components and the artwork from Andrew Bosley. Andy is wonderful illustrator. Yeah, I think that and. Seven Wonders you kind of already default cover it. I would actually go like something that's a little more widely spread. I think from a people own standpoint, I think that's
Okay.
really common in collections. It's like Splendor. I think for for all the faults that I have with that game regarding its box size, I would say the game itself is very clean. It's very easy to teach, and I think from a bringing someone in or someone that just doesn't play a lot of games, if they're over and you're having a game night, it's a really easy one to get to the table, and it's just a very clean flow.
Chris, I think you would pretty much agree with that, with a slight caveat. And that you picked a different themed one.
Yeah, I do like Splendor, but I like the Marvel version of Splendor.
There you go.
And the reason why I like the Marvel version of Splendor is, of course, it's got the Marvel license. But the other part is that you have to work towards at least acquiring one of each type of card. And then you have to reach a certain amount of points. And then whoever the first one is to get there then wins the game. I like that a little bit more than the base Splendor, only because you really do have to go for a little bit of variety in your card draft or in adding certain cards to your tableau. It's not always going for the blue gems. And instead of being known as gems, they're the different infinity stones. So you're going for the time stone, the power stone. The time stone, I think, is actually after you get at least 3 I think it's one of the tier 3 Avengers. And then you also can get this scoring token, which will come to you if you have the most Avengers on your team. And there's like these little Avenger symbols on the different cards. So if you have the most, you get that, and that's automatic 3 points. But if somebody else gets more Avengers than you, then they can take that away from you. So it's kind of a neat little game. I like
it's
it
like
a lot
Splendor
more.
Plus, right? Like it's got a little extra stuff to it. It's like just enough to give it an extra flair, because Splendor does get, it's not a game that I go to like regularly for game night, with usual gamers, right? Like so, and honestly, I think we published Space Explorers, I think, as a, but not to like ding Tableau builder. I didn't want to say it, because I was like, there's a lot of games I really enjoy as well, but I think but Space Explorers, it gets compared a lot to Splendor. I think because it does have that same kind of, you're building up this engine in front of you, and you're trying to use that engine to meet objectives and recruit people, buy things in the drafting area. So, but it's also a lot crunchier and a lot heavier. So it gets off to compare like a Splendor, if you are tired of playing Splendor, it's just gotten stale for you, like this, but like the style, this is the next evolution step you could take.
Yeah.
So Chris, that was one of the second ones on your list. I'm not going to say what order it was for you. Chelsea, what's another one from your list?
I would have to say Wingspan. I have it on the Switch. I have it on the computer, and I have the board game. It's one of my favorite games, and whenever we get a chance, we play it. Or when we traveled, we took the Switch with us to play, and I always like, again, it's when I don't always feel like it's the same depending on the cards that come out and everything. And it's just, I like the art, and with the different expansions, new things have been added in, and now they have like the nectar flowers and stuff like that. So it's just, it keeps evolving. It doesn't feel stale and boring. So
yeah. That's actually the only, this is the only game, like I don't go and like buy a lot of like aftermarket bling type stuff, you know, for games, just mainly because I spent most of my budget goes toward new and different games, just because I enjoy playing a lot of different new stuff. But Wingspan is the only game where I have literally purchased 100% of everything that's out there, from like Meeple source, from dice towers. I even have little like nests that are like bird nests that you put the eggs in, that like are just like there's no reason I need to have a real, you know, bird nesty type of thing to drop eggs in, but it's cool, and you got to do it because that's whatever reason that's in my head. I got to do that.
Right. I have the same. Didn't buy all the meeples that came with the second expansion or the third one, because I already had all from the first one, and I was like, they don't really fit in the box anymore.
No, it's multiple boxes at this point. I need like I need a Wingspan big box. I need like
I think they're doing one.
Put it on. Oh, see, this is what I need. So good on
so
Jamie for making that.
Wingspan was definitely on my list as well. It was one of the other crossover games that I couldn't I had to pick it as well. Like she talked about, the digital version is for sure my top digital game, or one of my top digital games from last year. How well it works, the music integrated within it, so relaxing. Like that's the only thing I can fault about the physical version is the setup time. Beyond that, like it works so well. It's so balanced between the different ecosystems that you put the birds into, and having to work each one to feed the other sections. It just works so well building it up, and then at the end trying to just get all those extra eggs. I know Chris beat me the first time we played, and he was like, I have all these extra eggs, and the next time I use that strategy against him and he complained. I was like, well, apparently that's how you win, so I'm trying to do it to you. So it was fun doing that to him, and just kind of it's a game we've enjoyed playing together, and both digital and the physical version is wonderful.
I hear good things. That everybody talks about digital version being great. I've never played it. I need to just buy it and try it.
I would say that the digital implementation, if you're going to introduce somebody to a board game via a digital version, Wingspan would probably be the best, especially because of the tutorial.
Yes.
It holds your hand like a tutorial should when you're learning a game online. So, and the music is phenomenal. I have the soundtrack. I love listening to it. I have it on Android. I have it on the Switch. I have it on the PC. I've got it right behind me. It is one that, like, I am more likely to play it online with these people here than I am to play it actually on my table. So that's how great of a implementation it was. I got to do a review of it, and
and it'll pop up like all the different bird facts.
Oh my gosh!
And the little noise,
and the bird noises, the actual noises,
the bird card you play,
the bird chirps and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. It is wonderful to listen to. So did you want to count Wingspan as one of your choices, Chad? I know you talked about how much you loved it, but do you want to keep it on this list or not?
Man, I can get 5 without using Wingspan.
Okay, no, it's up to you. It's up to you. So then what's another one you want to add to the list?
All right, so this is one doesn't get nearly as much love anymore as it should, and I think probably because it's a little bit aged. You know, a lot of newer gamers probably just haven't seen it, and I'm not even sure it's still in print. I'm assuming it is. I'll have to ping Tony about that. But Last Will. So Last Will is phenomenal. It's a lot of little things, and it's like, you know, you're adjusting a lot of little stuff. It's kind of fiddly, but like from a game flow perspective, it is such a cool Tableau builder. Because for those who don't know what it is, so Last Will, if you've ever seen, it's an old 1980s movie. I say old, like I literally saw it in the 80s, but it's because I'm that old. But it's an old Richard Pryor movie called Brewster's Millions, where he basically gets given a whole bunch of money, and he has to like spend it all in order. If he goes broke by a certain day, he gets a much larger inheritance. So Last Will, you're basically trying to go broke. So you start out the game with all this money, but you're trying to it's like a worker placement / Tableau builder, and you're trying to work your way through, throw in like parties, like you're taking your dog to the opera just to try to spend money. having fancy parties on boats, you're buying houses, buying townhomes, buying all this stuff. But like you have to buy it, but then like try to like destroy it and like buy it high and sell it low. So you have to manipulate like a real estate market where you can overpay for like a mansion and then like sell it like a rock bottom price and like basically don't upkeep it, so you kind of destroy it and it depreciates in value. But you basically just have to run out of money if that's your whole goal. But it's such a cool, like, it's just fun. I can't explain it. If you've never played it, track down a copy, and if you like Tableau builders, put it on your table. It's phenomenal.
Definitely have to look into that one.
So wait, you take your dog to the opera?
Yeah, you can like bring a horse to the opera. There's like all kinds of weird things. It's nuts. It's like whatever you want to do to spend money. It's like I'm gonna go. It's like weird. It's like I'm gonna have a party on a boat for 20 people, and I'll lose like all this money doing it, spending it to make it happen. And I'll invite my horse and like a random person. It's just like so weird. But basically, you have farms that you just like add more horses to and like just sell it off at a discount. It's nuts. That's really cool.
Interesting.
Okay.
Chris, back to you.
Okay, back to me. All right. I know that I'm going to say this. Chelsea might not be happy about this, but I think that Space Base is better than Machi Koro. I'm gonna say that right there. But I think that Space Base is better than Machi Koro. I like the game. I think the fact as I roll the dice, everybody's taking some sort of a turn and some sort of action. That really keeps people involved, because that game can go long if you don't have that feel to it, and especially if you're not picking up the right ships to get up to. So I think it's 40 points. I think is what you're trying to get to. So yeah. So if you're not getting to that 40 victory points quick enough, then it can feel like a very long game. But that's the nice thing about rolling the dice, is that you can constantly do something if you have ships out in space, which is nice. Yeah. So based on me just saying that, Chelsea, tell us about Machikoro 2.
So it's Machikoro 2, which just came out, and they switched some stuff around on how like the market's not stagnant, everything gets shuffled in just by numbers. I can't remember the numbers, like 1 to 6 or 1 to 5 and then 6 to whatever, and then they break them up and you just shuffle it. It's a big deck and you shuffle them and you put them out. So that the things that were wrong with the first version, that it was kind of felt the same changes, and instead of having to buy the landmark that gives you the second die option, you have it from the beginning. So you can choose to roll high or low from the very beginning. And it's just a quick, fun game. I feel like Space Base can be longer, and they have all these expansions and you can add all these things, which is great. I love Space Base too. So, but this one is just, I want to play a game in the middle of the week and after dinner or something, it's a quicker game. And that's why picked it. And then they changed the landmarks. Like you buy, when you buy the third one, the game ends, as opposed to you buy, having the same ones, and they're all different. They all, have different benefits that they give you. So things have changed around. So I like the new version.
Okay. Well, talking about newer games and that kind of play fast, one that was on my list is Garinto from Grand Gamers Guild. It's not as heavily a Tableau builder as a lot of the other ones we talked about, but it's a kind of very abstract kind of plastic tiles that kind of represent elements that you're moving into the middle of the board and collecting things around it or from the same row or column, depending on which color you place. But the more of those you've collected, the more essentially you can attempt to pick up. So that is affecting the quantity or quality of the action you're taking. So is why it kind of falls within this category. But it plays within 30 minutes. It's nice, simple, abstract. It's kind of really relaxing to play. But it's also very great table presence because of the 3D element, the way it stacks up and everything. So I've really enjoyed that lately. What about you, Chad? Even if it's not something new, what's another one that you enjoy?
So I mean, there's like, I'm gonna go one that's probably a little bit more obscure for some people. There's I like space games a lot. So my company logo has a rocket ship in the middle of it. But so there's a space game from a company that probably has like one of the best publisher names of all time. But the publisher is Sorry We Are French.
Yes.
And it's a game called Ganymede. Ganymede. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right, but which I think is like a moon off of Ganymede is a moon off of, I forget which planet it is. I think it's like Mars or Saturn or something, but or Jupiter or whatever. It's one of the far out planets.
Okay.
So, but it's a Tableau builder where you're trying to recruit and gather people and basically try to launch them into space to get them to Ganymede. So like you have like different stages you go through to build up your Tableau to bring people in, shoot them up in space, I think to like the moon or Mars or something, and then you got to move them again over to Ganymede. But the goal is to try to get settlers into Ganymede. So, but it's a really cool. It's like a very unique digital, kind of like boxy shaped digital style art to it. It looks very almost like Lawnmower Man VR from like the early 90s. I don't know how else to explain it. It's only in my head that makes sense. But it's really cool and one that I think even Lucky Duck Lucky Duck picked it up and did it for North America. I think I have like the original version, but there's an expansion for it too. But it's a solid little game. I like it a lot.
Okay. Let's go back to Chelsea this time. You got two more on your list. What are you going to go to talk about now?
I'm going to talk about Unfair.
Still in mine.
Yeah.
My next one.
Sounds unfair.
Yes.
That sounds unfair.
It is. You're building an amusement park, and the first half of the game, everything's going peachy. Everything's going great. Everything's going in your favor. And then second half of the game, everything turns and it becomes extremely unfair. And you start losing rides or employees. And they have different themes that you can pick the decks. So we usually just say, whoever's playing, they get to pick a deck. Everything gets shuffled in. And they just, like there's dinosaurs and there's robots and pirates. And I know they're coming out with a new Kickstarter soon.
It's like comic or not comic, but like arcade or something. I don't know. The new one, it's like the newest one. Like I have it all too. I love Unfair, but like the new one has like some different factions that I think are like really cool stuff.
Yeah. So it was the first time we played it. We're like, we have to get this. We have to have it.
But they made like so I actually like some people don't like the fact that, which was the kind of the big complaint about it, it's a fantastic Tableau builder. It was actually what I was going to talk about. But I think that shift, right? Like where everything is kind of, you're rocking and rolling, you're building this cool park and making the rides bigger, then the game pivots and it becomes this very take that type wrecking environment. And I think it's that inflection point, I think, for a lot of people, depending on their game groups, just can't handle or just don't really function with take that very well. Either just the personalities or just the style of game they enjoy playing. So they went back and made Funfair instead of Unfair, which is super clever, to remove that aspect, to just build on the fun, so to speak.
Yeah. So if it can get very take that. So if that's not a game for you or a type of game style for you, then you might not enjoy it as much as I do. But that's how we play in my house. We purposely go for that. And we never say no to it. We're
talking about never saying no to take that stuff. Like last night, I'm going to bring up the next game on my list because last night we actually played it, is Aquatica. Between two king cards, I was like, I could do a take that style card or this other one. And everyone at the table was take that. Like they immediately chose it for them without not knowing what it would do to them. They're like, yep, you got to play take that. And so, Aquatica is on my list. It has great art. The double layer board, sliding cards into it up as you perform the actions, and comboing everything together works so well. Even though I got wrecked last night and was last place, I still really enjoy the game. Me and Chris got to actually learn the game and play it on stream last year. It's just one of those really solid games that just flows well together, and it's easy to learn. But there's such a complexity to it as you look deeper into all the different actions you can take. so much fun. So I know I kind of stole your thunder, Chris, but why do you like
it's good.
Aquatica? Because I know it's on your list too.
I mean, for me, it's the artwork kind of stands out. I love the underwater type thing. And I've got it like literally, it's right here. This
just over your shoulder.
Yeah, just over my shoulder. Like I've got it quickly.
Right next to On the Rocks. Want to point that out?
Oh yeah, you better believe it. On the Rocks, Isle of Cats. You better believe it. I mean, there's certain games that I know that if I sit down real quick and I just want to grab it, I can just quickly grab it. That's kind of how it is. Like I know where, like I'm still working on these shelves again, but I mean, because I may or may not have come home with the ridiculous amount of games between Gen Con and Origins. And
Let's not talk about
PAX
extra
Zero.
shelves.
Gosh.
Yeah. So
I
we're
promise,
talking
yeah.
about Aquatica right
Yeah.
now.
Mhm.
So
All
you
right,
love the
so-
artwork. What else about it?
I mean, I like the way that when you're taking the cards and you're sliding them up in this recessed kind of board, then you just kind of push them up. So it's just something about just pushing them upwards and then taking the abilities and using those different abilities to actually kind of gain those treasures and everything like that. It just works really well. I think that's really what it comes down to. The artwork, once again, like I said, is wonderful. I have to say that Arcane Wonders has been working with different companies to bring their games into the States, which has been, I think, genius because they're really picking up some great games in the process. And Aquatica definitely is one of those ones.
Mhm.
So yeah.
I don't know if it's Aquatica Hobby World or I think it's their partnership with Hobby World or Korea Board Games.
This one
but-
was Cosmodrome. So
Or Cosmodrome. Not
Yeah,
Hobby
I think it
World,
was. I
Cosmodrome,
think
the Russian one.
Furnace was Hobby World.
Yeah, Furnace is
Oh,
Hobby
okay.
World, and then they've worked with Korea Board Games, Corax Games, and Pendragon.
Like Smartphone, I think was Cosmodrome as well, and yeah, so they're putting out great games, and obviously that partnership is working really well for them, which is great.
Yeah.
So Chad, what else is on your list, or could you think of? Or is that challenge getting a little bit harder now?
No. Hold on now. So this one is going to be a little bit. It counts as tableau building, in its own way. This is one that's like gets a little bit more on like the darker side of things.
Okay.
The Bloody Inn.
Mm.
So the Bloody Inn is, and I know like Ryan Gutowski from One Board Family, if he ever listens to this podcast, he's gonna get all excited the fact that I mentioned the Bloody Inn because it's one of his favorite games, like period. But this is one that usually kind of makes the October spooky month rotation, even though it's not really like a Halloween themed game. But what's kind of morbid about it, you're basically this innkeeper in like the 1800s, like and what you're trying to do is lure guests to your hotel, and your purpose is to rob them, and then you murder them, and then you got to bury them like somewhere on the property so the police don't catch you. That's literally the game. But even like the theme is a little like it's a little weird. The art in it is fantastic. The artist in it, I don't know if he's French or where he's from. It's at Weberson Santiago. He's got a few different games that he's done art for, and a very distinctive style. So if you see his style, and you'll notice another game like, oh, like that's Weberson. But what's interesting about it to me is that the economy is so tightly wound that you have like almost no room for like just wasting a turn because like it everything is that, which is also kind of like probably a bad thing for some people because you might feel like got myself behind, can't catch up or whatever. But there's not a whole lot of rounds to it either. I don't know how many rounds you play, 10 or so, but it's like every single round you're like I've got to make something happen this turn. You're trying to figure out how to do it, but just the flow of and the concept of robbing people and killing them and burying them underneath the back shed or whatever. It's just like and then cops are in it and they're coming to the inn and you can murder them. It's a cool game. Go check it out if you haven't seen it.
I've seen the box, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was the theme, but yeah. So we each have one more left on our list. Chris, what is the last one you had thought of?
I have fallen in love with this game ever since I started playing it. It's a Wonderful World by Lucky Duck
Mm.
Games. Just something about constantly building up, and it does have a little bit of that engine building type feel, but it works so well. Like, once again, you're kind of following that card drafting approach to it, where you're passing it over and you're taking the cards, but then you're having to choose which ones you're going to actually build and which ones you're just going to go ahead and trade them in for whatever resources you can probably get. And it works well. It's one of those games that's like, okay, so many rounds are over, game's done, everybody's happy, and it's it works. Once again, artwork on it is wonderful. I don't remember who did the artwork for that, but I think it was the same person that did maybe Smartphone Inc. I'm not sure, but I don't know. So who knows? But that's my game. It's a Wonderful World by Lucky Duck Games.
Nice.
about you,
And
Chelsea?
Chelsea, what is your last one?
So my last one is Fantastic Factories. I went definitely pre-COVID. Our game store that we visit it's large, and they have a big like playroom area, and they had a copy, and I played it and immediately got it. And you have, you're building your little tableau, but you're using dice to activate, and you're rolling the dice, and then whoever gets a certain amount of crates triggers the end of the game. But it's a very bright, it's not overly complicated, plays very quick, but it just made me happy when I played it. You roll the dice and you place them, and then you manipulate them. You try to use, go from one card to the next to try to combo them off. So and they recently had a Kickstarter too, and I went all in on that one. And I got the player mat and everything. It's just it makes me happy. So
Well, you talked about that one being kind of quick to play, easy to learn. My last one's almost the opposite of that. It's probably the heaviest on all of our lists. Paladins of the West Kingdom. I love a good worker placement game, but this one, like Chad's last choice, every move you make seems to be important. Like, you can't truly make a mistake, or you can get behind because of it's such a tight resource for everything. But it has great artwork. It takes up a lot of space on the table, but in general, it has a lot of great components. I enjoy the depth of the game, and for the tableau building, you have your little board in front of you, player board, but you can set yourself up to get discounts in the future depending on what you've earned previously. So that's kind of how that comes into play with tableau building, to take those discounts and make them permanent for the rest of the game. So yeah, I enjoy a good, nice deep game every now and then, and Paladins kind of scratched that itch a lot last year for me. So Chad, do you have one more on your list?
Yes, it may. So okay, this one's probably gonna get, like the critics are probably going to be like, oh, that's not like a true tableau builder or whatever. It's not enough of a tableau builder. But I will.
We're not critics here. Like,
No, you're definitely not.
And you didn't come into this like knowing that what it was going to be. So you're on the fly. You're excused if it's not perfect.
Well, so I do know it's probably, most people will probably say it's more of a worker placement game than a tableau builder for this one, and it's the Manhattan Project. The Manhattan Project is probably my favorite worker placement game. But you are still building out like a tableau in front of you of your own customized resource things that you can place workers on and utilize. Actually, other people can actually place your stuff on you. The sequel to it, which is a different designer, which is the Energy Empire, which is Manhattan Project 2, or Manhattan Project Energy Empire. It's a standalone sequel, but it's just not nuclear power related. It's like energy related. That's probably more of a pure tableau builder version in that universe. which a lot of people think is one of the probably best Tableau builders out there. But Manhattan Project too, I like them both. Like Manhattan Project, I just like a little bit more because I like the worker placement elements to it, and the fact that it actually has some take that built into it, which you don't get a lot of in a standard kind of Euro worker placement. But in the Manhattan Project, much like the name probably sounds, you are a nation and you're trying to build up your nuclear arsenal back in the 1950s, kind of setting. And the whole purpose is to race to build, a certain point value worth of nuclear bombs. So it's a little bit, I'm like a morbid thing for some reason, but like it's not like morbid. It's like, but you're trying to build and get those right, like those bombs ready for it. But it doesn't feel like bad. But what's cool about it though, you can actually have like fighter jets and bombers, and you can actually go attack another player's board and like make them lose things. You can also espionage and spy, which is another thing you can do, which allows you to put your workers on other people's tableaus, which is just like a really cool twist like on that concept. So all the mechanisms like that kind of like and things that feed into it just to me just work really well, feel nice and seamless, and the theme makes all of that tie together really well. So the Manhattan Project is one to check out.
Well, just hearing how it works, A, I'm interested in trying it, but B, that for sure falls within Tableau building. I don't see why it wouldn't. Even multiple things that I picked weren't like pure Tableau building. It's like typically part of our top 5 is as long as part of the game somehow falls relatively within it counts. It's more about games where we just have a lot of fun playing because they bring us joy, bring us to the table together. So that was our top 5 for tonight. So we're going to wrap this up. But before we go and end this, we're going to kind of talk about, I guess, New Year's goals or resolutions, if you want to call them, whatever your plans for this year are within gaming. Like what are you trying to do this year? Like personally myself, like I've set the goal, I'm going to try to play 365 games, like different unique games for the year. Yeah, like it's a challenge. Like that's the whole point. I'm going to challenge myself. Like some people do a 10 by 10 or whatever it may be, but I'm going for 365 unique games.
Now these are unique, not like new unique. This is like,
they don't have to be. They don't have to be brand new to me games. I'm going to attempt to play 365 different games.
Do you have like a counter somewhere, like a geek list, like on BGG, or like you can track it so you can kind of like, I got this one. This is number 65. This is number 83.
I'm writing it down, but I'm also posting it pretty much daily on my Instagram. So like I'm tracking it. Like today I posted the 4th one. So it's like 4 out of 365. And so people can follow along with, it keeps me accountable. People can follow along. If I get behind, people will be like, hey, how many games have you played lately? Or like maybe I play a lot in
it's
one weekend.
August and you're on 60. Like what are you doing? You're gonna catch up.
But of course, hopefully we'll have more conventions coming back around at that point, going to them, playing games there as well, learning some new ones, or just getting to meet with more friends again and playing multiple games at one point. But that's my goal: 365 different games.
Now this is asterisk like TTS included, or is this?
Yeah, like I'll allow digital versions of a game, like so I can play online TTS if it's a.
Just try to see how strict you are.
No, if it's a play test of something, if it's a digital version of something, but only one game of it will count. Like I can't be like, oh, I played that 10 times. That's 10 games. No, it's 365 unique games played. Do y'all have any goals for this year within gaming?
So for me, I'm horrible at tracking. Horrible.
Yeah.
And I want to track, and I've done great so far. I didn't want to put something that would potentially stress me out or give me like anxiety over it, because then it takes the fun away from it. Tracking, I'm doing it, and I'm really curious to see what at the end of the year it looks like, because the last time I updated it for last year was sometime in like March. And I didn't update anything after that. So just that, and finding more like not letting like life work or external things in life like take away from the joy the games bring. So just try to make a time that it's just, oh, it's a game, we're going to have fun, forget about everything around it, and just focus on the positivity, because the last 2 years have been somewhat rough.
I agree. That's a great goal, like to be able to focus on the joy of being at the table, the game itself, and the people around there, and kind of attempt to somewhat ignore the outside issues going on, at least for a little bit, is kind of what
Tiny
gaming
bit.
can be about, is bringing us something to distract us and bring us something that brings us joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chad, do you have any goals for the year, either be it for your company or personally, when it comes to gaming?
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess from both. I mean, I think from a company perspective, I think just an overall goal, I think, is for the company to keep growing. I think that obviously that is what I want to happen. And so every year, as we've been fortunate, like every year it's gotten bigger and bigger. I think I feel like the last 2 years, of lack of cons and like all the logistic struggles and things like that have kind of slowed things down some. We certainly slowed our development, release, of games down some to accommodate for that. But I think now that hopefully the things are going to start returning more and more to normal this year, and things are going to start happening with a more normal cadence. Certainly the goal there is to, bigger and more titles, better titles, not better, but like just more, and each print run, hopefully for every title gets larger and larger. We've got some reprints we're doing on other titles, which is exciting. Even like first time we're going to have an expansion coming up, this year for a game, so that's also going to be exciting. So I think just hopefully connecting more people to be aware of who we are and get a chance to experience our games. So but at the end of the day, I'm still a gamer at heart and and that's why I'm in this industry. So for me, the biggest problem is also spending too much time working on our games and things we have in the pipeline, prototype wise and development wise, and actually taking a moment to stop and relax and just enjoy other games that other people have worked really hard to create, and have those experiences around the table that that Chelsea was just talking about. I think it's easy to feel, and TTS has helped a lot. I think when not just business wise, TTS has been a godsend, because this are developing with remote people that we couldn't have done it development with before, and it's changed a lot. But just even having some of those board game interactions, but it's still not the same, as actually sitting around a table with people and going to Origins and Gen Con, this year physically, in person for the first time in a couple of years. I think that having those moments at night where you're all sitting around and playing a game together, and this is going to come up again like in a month and a half at Tantrum Con. I'm really excited to have those, because those con kind of evening relaxing moments, because you're not working the booth anymore. You can finally get a chance to relax and play games and hang out with people, just like we all met up there at Gen Con. Those experiences at night are what it's about, and trying to find more of those throughout the year with friends and stuff. That's my goal. And I've got a regular game group that got sporadic for a bit, and I think I even posted it on Instagram last night or this morning, because things have been really crazy leading up to the Blazing Kickstarter launch on Tuesday, and then of course this week was really busy. But then last night I just like, what, I'm gonna check out, not look at my phone, not look at anything, not read email, and sat down, with some friends, came over and we played, several games just in a row, like last night. And having those laughing moments and just being around people, and when it was over, I was thinking about it, like this, I think it was this morning that I posted. I was like, it's so that experience just last night really brings home like what it's about, and trying to get more of those is important for this year.
I love that. Chris, what about you? If you want to wrap us up.
With
you being last, and we'll bring this all to a close.
Oh goodness. So I am not keeping track of all the games I played. I've tried that once. It was more stress than it was joy for me. But the one thing that we are doing is we are committing to having 6 days of content, whether it be between Twitch or YouTube. That's been the big thing. So like Mondays are what we call punchable Mondays. Wednesdays is how does it work, where we go a little bit in depth on one of those 2 games that we unbox. And then Friday is what I call deep thoughts, where Tomorrow, it's a little story about my mom and how she kind of inspired the charity aspect of the charity board gamer. And then, tonight, right afterwards, right after here, we're actually going to be playing both of the games that we unboxed. And the reason why we're doing this is so that way throughout the whole week, there's content related to the games that we're talking about. So there's an unboxing, there's a little bit of an overview, and then there's actually an actual playthrough. That's kind of the deal with it. And then, of course, Meeples of Joy. This is something special. I've been doing the charity board gamer interviews with people in the community, which has been a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed that. But there's one thing that I've really also enjoyed, and that's doing stuff with these two people who I love them very dearly, and I want them to get the exposure just like I was able to be given. And one of my big things and goals is for them to be known by their names. So if somebody were to say, "Oh, have you heard of Play Games Spread Joy?" "Oh yeah, that's Justin." "Yeah." Or, "Hey, Chelka's Corner." "Oh yeah, Chelsea." "Yeah." I want them to be able to walk up to a booth like I've been very fortunate to do, and for them to be automatically recognized to be promoted in a way, because that's what they've done. They've brought me a lot of joy and blessings. So my goal is this year to bless them in that respect. And I am beyond thankful. We're going to be doing at least 4 charity-based live streams, 1 a quarter. And of course, once again, we're doing our merch store, where we're taking 60% of the profits, putting it right back towards charities. And then we're also, of course, doing our bits and subscriptions, where we're putting those back into charities as well. So every time you subscribe, it's going, the payout is, and I know Twitch has a certain thing, the payout, the way I like to do it is I want the payout to go towards something like that. If you want to support us personally, Ko-Fi, PayPal, that stuff, but we want to make sure that the name, the Charity Board Gamer, truly is that mindset that we can give back to the community and build it up. That's been what it's been about, and it's not going to stop. We're going to try to find more ways of building up community by doing those late night events at Gen Con, Origins, PAX U. We had a lot of fun. I think we had way too many people at PAX U, which was great. I think we fit 100 people into that place, and it jumped up about 20 degrees in that one room. So the goal is maybe next year.
Well, Gen Con, it was overflowed.
Oh yeah,
Gen Con. It was the general area, and that was
Origins. We had it upstairs. Origins was upstairs and
overflowed.
downstairs. Yeah, Origins overflowed into the hallway, upstairs, downstairs. That was crazy.
And then PAX U was even bigger.
Yeah, PAX U was larger, and I think we had it in about just a little bit larger of a space than we did the last one. But yeah, it was I
would say 3 times as big. As Origins.
I just kept moving around.
There was at least a dozen tables.
Yeah,
and they were all full, standing room only. After that, there's like people into the hallway talking.
Yeah,
it was
nice.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
it's a blessing.
Yeah,
that many people to say we want to come just play games with y'all and hang out. People were saying that's their favorite event of the cons now, because it's that set time to actually play a game instead of be on at a booth or be on doing media. This is everyone's chance to just be a gamer and be there face to face and hang out with people.
And then my other goal for this year is to just do a lot more walking. During the pandemic and everything, I've gotten out of shape. And one of the biggest things that I want to be able to do is I want to be able to just do some serious walking not every day, because I'm not going to commit to that. I'm not going to lie to myself. But just, get into the sense of being able to be a little bit healthier, so that way when conventions come around and I'm actually walking.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I froze. That's okay.
He's just taking a very long dramatic pause.
Very long dramatic pause and stuff and things and stuff. Yeah. Okay. That sucks. I can see all of you too, which now I can see you. Okay. So long dramatic pause. Yeah. I want to just walk. I want to get into a better condition of health going into some of these conventions, just so that way my body is more conditioned for it. I noticed there was a big difference between Gen Con and Origins, since there's only 2 weeks apart. I was conditioned for the next one, health wise, and I didn't feel it as much. But yeah, it was just one of those things. So yeah, folks, we are going to go ahead. We're going to wrap up tonight. Once again, I want to say thank you again.
It sounds like we all have some great goals for the new year.
Yes.
Both for personal and for either company or channels. So Chad, we want to thank you again for joining us, coming on to talk about Blaze On.
Yeah. Did it freeze again? Why do I keep freezing? Who knows? Folks, yes.
I don't know what's going on.
God bless America.
I was doing my part as co-host and just taking over and going.
I know.
And then
I know.
And then you're like,
rushed in the door like. But yes, so Chad, thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys.
Talking about it and like being willing to take on the challenge of the top 5 we threw at you. I know it wasn't the easiest of categories, but we typically try to find a category that fits in with the game we're talking about with our guests, and so it just seemed to fit great. And of course, Blaze On seems amazing. So if you have a chance to go check it out on Kickstarter, we do recommend it to go learn about it. And if it fits your budget, fits your game style, help back it. And then come say hi to us at a con this year if you're there, or say hi to us online. We have a lot of different things going on. And so anything else you want to say, Chris?
No, because I worry that it's going to freeze up on me as soon as I start talking. But folks, we want to say a special thank you again, Chad. Thank you to Chelsea. Thank you to Justin. Once again, this is Meeples of Joy podcast. We can't wait to see you next week. Who knows what our next top 5 will be, but we're currently working. I think I've got our next guest already lined up, and we can't wait. And then if you want to, we're going to raid into somebody because the show's over. We're going to raid into somebody, and yeah, I know
we'll work on your end transitions later.
Have fun with editing this later, Justin.
So much.
So much.
yeah.
You can just see the pain in his face.
I know, it's so good. It's almost like that loss at Garinto. But yeah, I went there. So I don't want to hear about any of my losses. So in any of the other games.
You stopped counting. It was so bad.
I know.
We can it's a new year. We can restart.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds great. I like that.
Start a counter with your family.
Oh,
since you'll be playing on stream with them a lot.
That's true. But yeah, we're going to be playing tonight. We're going to be playing Floating Floors. This is going to be coming out to Kickstarter this year from Guff Studios. And then right afterwards, we're also going to be playing Unmatched Battle of Legends Volume 2. My wife and myself, we're going to be playing that and giving a little taste of what the game's like. And if you like it, of course, this one hasn't even hit Kickstarter yet, so it's like a little prototype copy. And then, of course, Battle of Legends Volume 2. I'm a diehard Unmatched fan, so you kind of tell. All right, yeah, they need to make that. Die Hard's a great Christmas movie. So, folks, we're going to go ahead and raid into somebody, but we'll see you all later. Hope you have a great night. Bye.
Bye.
What are you doing? You're using the wrong shaker. Oh, hey, Gary. Yeah. No. Shelly took the shaker with her when she left. So I've got my thermos. I'm just kind of using that, and maybe if somebody got the alcohol order right next time. What did you say? Nothing. Yeah, I've got those drinks. I got that martini right here for table 62. Got it. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, I'll get some. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks. Luckily, you don't have to be a bartender to enjoy games like On the Rocks, Kingswood, and Kohaku, all from 25th Century Games. Highly recommend it. Link down below. Oh, and don't forget that 80 rolls of silverware before the end of your shift.
Hey, thanks for watching our video.
If you like what you saw here, go ahead and hit that little like, subscribe, the little bell thingamabobber, you know the thing, and watch some of our videos. Maybe one that's maybe up here, or maybe down there, or over there, or down there. I don't know where they are, but thank you all. Remember, when we can gather at the table, we can do the same for a good cause. Bye.
Bye.